Hello, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are around the world, and a huge welcome to today's postgrad specific LLM Insights. Now, this is a continuation from throughout the year where we have seen special guests from various different law schools from all over the globe showcase in this series of webinars. Now, a reminder, this is a live session. If you're watching on Zoom today, you can ask your questions in the Q&A facility. If, like most of you, you're watching on social media and you're on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn today, please ask your questions in the message facility and we'll endeavour to get around to you as soon as possible. So what have we got coming up today and for the rest of the month? We got a presentation from today's special guest, Tulane Law School, based in New Orleans. We have a bit of information as to why you should use LLM Study and postgrad.com to find your perfect LLM course. That will be followed by a Q&A, which will be live, which will be hosted on our podcast channels if you do miss any, and details of any sessions coming up. But if you have missed any sessions or you're not sure if you're going to be able to make any future sessions, they are listed all there, and we will reach out to you after the session. But for now, I'd like to hand you over to Maria. Maria is Director of Admissions at Tulane Law School. She will be taking you through a little bit more information about the law school and what makes it such a great place to study over the next 20 minutes, and then we'll be back for a live Q&A at the end. Maria, over to you.
My name is Maria Landry, and I am the Director of Admissions here at Tulane Law School, as Garrett was letting you know. And the first thing that I want to talk to you about is the fact that I have a lot in common with most of you. And this is to say that my first law degree is actually from Portugal. And I was born and raised in Portugal. I did my first law degree there. And then, just like the majority of you entering this session today, I was wondering, what should I do? I completed my studies. I had a nice work. I had a nice job, but I was wondering, what should I do next? There's something that I really like that I didn't learn a lot about in law school in Portugal. Where can I find some place out there that does it better than I was taught, and what can I do with that? And for me, especially, that was energy environmental law. So I did my research. I went on websites like this one, like Postgrad, and I looked for LLM programs, and I found Tulane. I came to New Orleans many years ago, almost 15 years ago. I did my master's here. I was lucky enough to find a job here. I stayed. I worked at a firm for a few years. I took to New York Bar, passed to New York Bar, and then eventually found myself back to Tulane Law School, and I have been here for the past 8 years, almost 9. So it's been a long time here. I'm very happy to be at the place that gave me my LLM, and I am very happy to be able to share with you both sides of this adventure. So I was once in your shoes, and now I'm in the position of introducing to you my school and to tell you why I think you should come here. So Tulane Law School, as Garrett was telling you before, is located in New Orleans, Louisiana, and that is the South, and that is the heart of the South of the United States. We are a private institution in one of the most incredible cities in the United States, a city that it's rich in music, in food, in culture, in museums, in festivals. There's a lot of festivals around here. It's just a wonderful place to learn. It's a wonderful place to study. It's a wonderful place to make new connections, and it's just different from anywhere else that you've ever been. There's a lot of heat. The humidity is awful, but we don't get snow, so there's a lot of perks to being in New Orleans. Tulane Law School is one of it's the 12th oldest law school in the United States, so there's a lot of history here. We are part of, as you can see behind me, the law school is one tiny building amongst this huge university that is Tulane University. So we are part of this big campus. We stand alone in one building that is 3 floors of law classes, followed by 3 floors of a law library. That's a beautiful place to study, and it's full of wonderful law collections. And but we also have all the perks of being part of a huge US university campus. So we are close enough to all the dining halls, we're close enough to the gyms, we are close enough to the football games and the baseball games and the basketball games. So we have everything close by, but we keep to ourselves too when it comes to the studying and the classes and everything. So a little about that. So what does Tulane have to offer you? So if you have completed a first law degree and you're thinking, like I was thinking at the time, I really not like energy law, or if you're thinking I really like business law, or I really like maritime law, and I didn't get enough of it in my home university, and I know for a fact there's some universities out there that have a strong culture of that really know how to do it. Do your research, look up the programs. I would say one of the things that I always say, and I think you're going to hear a lot from the universities that will present to you, is there are a lot of very well-known schools that are wonderful, no doubt there, but there are a lot of us that are smaller schools, that are less known schools, that we're very, very good at very specific things. So maybe think about that when you're looking for the programs. Don't think just about the big names. Of course, those always have to be considered, but when you considering if you're really interested in some very specific programs, maybe do some research on those fields. And with that being said, I will tell you what we offer. So Tulane Law School offers 5 different LLM programs. We have a general LLM that allows you to pick and choose from a very, very wide range of courses. The one thing that I didn't mention before, but I'll introduce here when it comes to the general LLM, is that Louisiana is the only state in the United States that does civil law. And so what does that mean is that because we're a national university, so we don't just teach people in Louisiana, we have to offer a number of courses both in civil law and in common law. So when you're picking classes here at Tulane, you can pick civil law classes, you can pick common law classes, or, and I'll talk about the International Comparative Program, you can pick a lot of classes that do the comparison between both. But so that means that we offer a wide range of classes and a very large number of classes per semester. And the general LLM allows you to do exactly that, to pick and choose from any course selection that we offer. It's very flexible. It allows you to, if you want to pursue a field that we don't have an LLM in. So for example, Tulane is very well known in sports law, but we don't have an LLM in that. The general LLM allows you to pick all the sports law classes and end up with the general LLM, but when people look at all the courses that you took, they can say, hey, it really looks like you did all the sports law classes that Tulane has to offer, for example. The same with business. We don't offer an LLM in business law, but you can do the general LLM and take a lot of our classes in business law, business enterprises, mergers and acquisitions, etc. Then we are known for being, if not the number one of the top 2 programs in the world in Admiralty and Maritime Law. We have a very large number of courses. Professor Davis and Professor Force are the directors for the Maritime Law Center, and they lead a wonderful program with a great supporting faculty. A lot of the classes are going to be very focused on commercialization and shipping industry. So a very, very timely business, a very growing business that is not going anywhere anytime soon. And I know that a lot of you were very aware of the issues during COVID. So Professor Davis upstairs in the Maritime Law Center often says, when a lot of people were home during COVID and a lot of business were sadly had to stop, the maritime industry was picking, or the maritime legal industry is picking up more than ever. So it's a very, very active law field at the time. Then we have an LLM in American law. So for those of you who believe that you want to pursue a legal career in the United States, or for those of you who work for an American company and you want to learn a little more about American rules in American jurisdiction, that's what this LLM does for you. It teaches you the basics, and on the first semester it teaches you the basics, and then on the second semester leads you to a little more information on what the American legal system has to offer. And also it's a very easy pathway to take a US bar exam if you decide to do so. Then we have a program that it's very dear to me because it's the one that I took here, which is the LLM in Energy Environmental Law. Again, it's a very, very special place to do it. Louisiana is located in the Gulf of Mexico. So there's a lot of oil and gas industries, and we do talk about those, and we do have classes on oil and gas, but we're also, for lack of a better expression, sinking. We're sinking. Louisiana is in New Orleans. We're underwater. It's like a little underwater level, and we're very much afraid of what the increasing of the differences in climate changes are doing to our specific state. So we also very much care about alternative energies and sustainable energy, and we offer a very large number of classes in those. So we are trying to accommodate everything that we still have. So the oil and gas industry, that it's still very much alive in Louisiana and in the Gulf of Mexico and in Texas, which is a neighboring state. But also we're trying to be very proactive on how we can improve that. So we offer classes in sustainable law, in energy law, etc. So it's a very, very good program. We also have an energy and an environmental law centers that work with students in cases. It's a very good program. And then, as I was saying before, because of the civil law and the common law jurisdiction, we are in a very, very special position to be able to create this comparison between the two legal systems, because obviously the large majority of the United States does common law, but the large majority of the world does actually civil law. So we are in the special position of being able to gather both in one place and have a program that does comparative law, I would say, better than most. Additionally, in addition to that, we have a very, very international faculty base. We have a lot of international students on our campus. We offer a lot of international classes, international human rights, international environmental law, international maritime law. So we try to introduce our students to the difference around the world in this LLM program. So 5 LLM programs that you can choose from, all of them very strong, all of them with dedicated faculty. And then in addition to that, to international students, we also have an introduction to the US legal system. Our introduction to the US legal system program is offered in the beginning of the LLM. It has also been accepted by the New York Bar as one of the admissible courses for that specific field. And during those 4 weeks, the students come in and get exactly that, an introduction to the US legal system with several different members of our tenured faculty. In the afternoon, students have effective advocacy, which is an introduction to English, to legal research and writing. We also host a number of social activities. We introduce you to New Orleans. We take you around the city to visit the city, and it gives you the opportunity to explore. Since it starts a little before the semester, so still in the summer, it gives you the opportunity to be on campus with other international students and explore campus and be able to meet the deans and the faculty and the staff on your own before everyone else gets here. So it's a great bonding opportunity. And we also have, for those who might need assistance with English, we also offer a program that is called ESL. A lot of you will know what this means, but it's an English as second language. So even before orientation, also during the summer, we introduce our students to a very, very detail-oriented English proficiency 3-week program where people not from the law school, but from our English department teach our students and do a lot of reading exercises, writing exercises, speaking, and they go out to different venues and do speaking, engagement in listening activities. So it's a good incorporating the city, what the city has to offer, the different programs that are available, not just at the law school, that the ESL program incorporates a lot of different things from the main campus for students to get adapted and to get more exposure to English. And I always say that living in the United States is the #1 thing, or living in an English speaking country will always do wonders for your English proficiency. Tulane Law School is currently accepting applications for the LLM program. The deadline is June 1st, so we have a long way to go, but the application is now open. We also like to say that we used to be a fall enrollment only university, but as of now, we have the opportunity of enrolling both fall and spring. So if someone is interested in a January start, we do offer that too. The deadline for that application is actually November 1st. But if you're interested in coming in fall next year, so a year from now, if you're planning ahead, if you're doing your research, if you're organizing your thoughts, where to apply, etc., June 1st is the deadline for those of you who want to start in August of next year. The application process is very simple. The majority of the schools that you will talk to will tell you that most of us use the LSAC program, use LSAC, the Law School Admissions Council, and our application is there and available. There's a fee waiver that's applied automatically. Tulane Law School also has an application form that you can use directly with us. So if you're more interested in that option, please let us know, and we'll be happy to share our online application review. It's a very simple application. Things to know is that all schools, and this is general knowing for all schools when you're applying, we're going to ask you for a complete application. We're going to ask you for all your transcripts up to the moment that you arrive. We're going to ask if English is not your the language of your first law degree. We're going to ask you for an English proficiency score. We're going to ask you for 2 letters of recommendation, or most of us will ask you for 2 letters of recommendation. They can be educational or they can be professional. We're going to ask you for a personal statement in a resume. When it comes to the personal statement, I would say that try to make it about yourself, try to make it exactly as it says. A personal statement, generally 2 pages long, an introduction of you to us, explaining why you want to do this or how you got to law. The only thing that I mention always about the personal statement is it doesn't, or it shouldn't be, a repetition of anything that we can see on any other part of the application. So you don't have on your personal statement, you don't have to talk about your career, because, or you can talk about your future career or what you're planning to do, but you don't have to tell us, I went to this school and I did this and I had this grades, because all that information is already available on our application. So what we're looking for on your personal statement is something different, something extra, something that will make you stand out from all the other applicants. Scholarships are available to all of our programs. When we offer scholarships, they're normally at a minimum 30% discount. Tulane is a private university, so it is expensive. But again, all LLM students are considered for scholarship awards. Those are merit-based, so you don't have to fill out a separate application. You can just, we will look at everything that you submit and we'll come up with both a decision on your admission and the award that we're giving to you based on that. And then I think I talked at length when I was introducing the school and introducing our programs, but I would love to end on a note on telling you how relevant I believe an LLM program it is, and why I think we should do it in the United States. A few reasons. it's a global network. There's a huge number of students here doing it too. You will create a network for a lifetime. And it's going to be both a personal one and a professional one. As I mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, I did my LLM here almost 15 years ago, and I remained friends with a lot of the people that did the LLM with me at the time. I went to their weddings. They will tell you where to eat when you go to their cities. And also they can be wonderful professional contacts. So if you have a case in their country, if you need legal advice in their country, if you need a connection, if you need a partnership, those are connections that you will make through an LLM year that will last you for a lifetime. And it's off. You will often hear people say it was the best year of my life, and that is why. And you will also create wonderful relationships with the people here, with faculty, with staff, and connecting with alumni. You will go back to your home countries, or even before you arrive here, you get the opportunity of talking to alumni and ask them, like, how was Tulane? What did you like? And everyone has stories to share, and then they will follow up with you, and you will develop that relationship. So maybe if you decide to go back home, if that's your goal, you can just call that person. It's like, hey, I completed my LLM from Tulane, just like you. What is your firm offering? So network is a great thing that you can take out of the LLM for sure. If English is not your first language, it's a wonderful opportunity to strengthen your English skills. And with that being said, there's a lot of different languages that are spoken everywhere around the world, but we all know that still up to today, a lot of business is done in English. A lot of contracts are written in English. So it's a wonderful way to introduce yourself to an employer, for example, to say like, hey, I have a year in the United States. I did a master's. It's not an easy thing. I sat side by side with JDs. I know the long legal complex names. I can do this. So that's a wonderful thing too. And then to prepare for global practice more and more, we're all citizens of the world. So it will prepare you to work anywhere. It will give you an introduction to a different culture. It will allow you to understand complex legal issues. And if you wish to do so, it will absolutely allow you to sit for one of a few US bar exams in the United States. And that gives you, if you already have a license in your home country, it gives you an extra leg, right? So you now are licensed in 2 different jurisdictions. Also, if you work for a US firm, if you work for a US company, it's also an add value for sure. I've been talking for over 23 minutes. Again, my name is Maria Landry. I am the Director of Admission here at the law school. I will be more than happy to answer any and all questions that you might have. And that's it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Maria. That was very insightful. And I'm sure everyone watching now and in the future as well will all agree it's a great session. So thank you very much. Now, what we are going to do is just going to engage in a live Q&A. We've had questions come in before the session, during the session, throughout social media. So I will try to get around to as many of the questions as possible. To begin with, Maria, you mentioned about New Orleans at the beginning of your presentation, about how originally, I think you said you were from Portugal, and then obviously you come over to the UK now, USA, sorry. Now, talk to me about New Orleans, because, you know, there'll be many people watching on an international level that will watch and go, you know, if I want to be in a big city, I need to go to New York, San Francisco, DC, you know, Miami, these vibrant big cities that people know where they are. New Orleans can sometimes get lost. Obviously, I think it's the Big Easy. I think it accepts different cultures from everywhere. Talk to me about its location, accessibility, airports, and the size and the different cultures that are in the city.
So in all honesty, it is not a big city at all. So if you compare it to even Houston, Houston is a terrible comparison because Houston is gigantic. But the nearby city, Houston or Miami, it's a small city compared to to New York or any of those cities. However, it's a very accessible city, as you were saying. We're in the middle of the United States. So if you're debating, you know what, I really want to go to California today or go to New York tomorrow, you're always in the middle of the United States. It's also, we are, as I was saying before, we are a national university. So we do prepare you, just because we're in the civil law jurisdiction doesn't mean that we don't prepare you for common law. 85% of our JD students are from out of state. So they do go back to those jurisdictions. And there is an add value to that. So a lot of times people that, and again, there are wonderful programs in New York and in California, et cetera. But a lot of times, everyone that's attending that school in New York, all they want to do is take the New York bar and go and pursue law firms in that state. When you're in New Orleans, you have a little more room. And what I say to this is, you can take the Louisiana bar because Louisiana is somehow flexible on how you can take the bar here. So you have different opportunities. You can sit for the bar here, you can look for a job here. A lot of our faculty are actually practitioners in New Orleans. So you get a very, very good networking out of your stay in New Orleans and attending classes here. But also, you can also say, you know what, but I want to go to New York. So you take the classes that are from New York, and somehow you find yourself being the only person from New Orleans, the only one that has a different classes to offer. You went to a different school, you attended different classes, you have a different perspective, you know the South, but you also can live in New York. The same with California. You're not competing, you're not in the same school as everyone competing for that job, but you're coming from a different place where you have different people. And I have to say, the fact that we're a national university leads to a lot of alumni everywhere. And when I say everywhere, it's everywhere. We have people, if one of our LLM students decides tomorrow that they want to work at a law firm in North Dakota, we will find you a Tulane alumni that is currently living in North Dakota. We have alumni everywhere. I have LLM students in New York. I have LLM students here. I have LLM students in California. So you can end up anywhere. And it's a magical city to live for a year. I don't want to say that it's a party city because everyone says that, and it is, obviously. But there's so much more to offer. There is museums, the festivals don't all have to be about drinking or Bourbon Street. There's so much about New Orleans. If you look behind me, there's endless parks where you can run, where you can bike. It's a flat city. Everyone bikes around here. The weather right now is getting to be lovely. We still have heat and we still have humidity, but we never get snow. And fall and spring are lovely here, and winter is never below 40s. So it's a wonderful place to be. Mardi Gras is magical. And because the size of the city is smaller, and because of people end up all living very close by, you end up developing relationships that I don't know if you can create in big cities that have so much more to distract you.
I agree with you. Can we just touch upon, you mentioned about the size of the city, and you can't compare it to Houston and New York. It's impossible. They're mega cities. Can you talk to me then, because of that, does it become more affordable? Is it a lot more affordable? Therefore, the accommodation, would you say, not as expensive as those major cities? And you mentioned, obviously, it's flatter, so people cycle. Another avenue of making it a little bit more cheaper.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say that it's not half of the cost of living of New York or California or Houston, but you do get more for what you're paying. And with that, what I mean by that is there's very little studio. So you get when you live in New Orleans, you have a bedroom separated from a bathroom and separated from a kitchen, everything. You have a space for everything. If you live with other people, you live in a house. You don't split an apartment. Here, there's a lot of our students live in a big house that have 4 bedrooms and everyone shares it. So that does make it a little more affordable. Without a doubt, housing is more affordable than almost anywhere. The biking, everyone bikes. And then added to that, I will say that a lot of our international students, and by a lot, I mean probably close to 75% of our students do work on campus. So you're allowed on a student visa, on an F or a J visa, you're allowed to work on campus for 20 hours a week. And as I was saying, it's a huge university. So some of our students do work at the law school, either as research assistants or at the law library. But there's a lot of our students that are like, no, I don't want to work during the week.
Yeah.
And so they work at the football games, or they work at the baseball games, or they work at the coffee shop on campus. So there are a lot of opportunities in that. I will be honest and will tell you that does not pay for tuition and fees, but that does help you with the food, your food expenses. So your miscellaneous expenses, your day-to-day expenses can absolutely be made way more affordable by working on campus.
Excellent, great to hear. And that, I think that's so important as well. Everybody forgets that from an international student perspective, it's a huge expense and a nervous time for students when they come from countries where you wouldn't necessarily associate with coming to the States and feeling not welcome, because USA is a very welcoming country, and New Orleans no doubt is a very welcoming city, as is Louisiana as a state. But for students, it's still an anxious time. So it's really important to point that out. So I want to talk about the courses now in a bit more detail. You mentioned earlier on about Louisiana being the only state to do the civil and common law courses, was it? Talk to me a little bit more about that and how that is so unique to yourself.
Yeah, so we still use the Napoleon Code. Go figure. We never got over with our France purchase. No, it's true. So Louisiana does still use the Napoleon Code. So we are a true civil jurisdiction. However, as I was saying before, the large majority of our students do go back to their home states, and that means 80% to 85% of our students are from out of state, so they go back to common law jurisdictions. So as a national university, we just have to accommodate that, and it just makes it special because we are in this very, very, very wonderful position of we have to cater for the students that are from our state, and we have to understand the laws of the state where we're located. So we have to understand codes, and with that being said, we're based off Napoleon codes, but we're not exactly the same, right? There's differences, and we have integrated a little bit of the common law. So we also do jurisprudence. So there's a lot to be said about comparative and mismatching jurisdictions when it comes to Louisiana. Absolutely. And we do that. We offer you, if you want to come here and learn about Louisiana law, we offer that as a core course. You can do Louisiana civil procedure. You can do obligations as not obligations in a civil law European standard, but as a Louisiana obligations way of doing it. But you can also do strictly common law, because a lot of our students say, I'm from New York. I want to go back to New York, teach me torts as everyone else is learning in the United States. And we do that too. So it's just a different way of doing it. And then as you progress, so the first year in LLM students can take 1L courses. So the first year is just core courses, but then as you go on to upper classes, so a lot of the LLM students do take those upper classes. There's a lot of comparative classes too. So you can, there's faculty that a lot of them have first law degrees from common law jurisdictions, but then they've been here exposed to civil law for so long that they were able to create a curriculum that compares both systems. So it's a very unique way to teach. And one that allows students to pick and choose. Actually, you can pick if you want to continue, if you're coming from a civil law jurisdiction and you just want to learn how Louisiana does it, you can just do that. If you want to just no, I'm coming to the United States, so I just want to learn common law, just teach me common law, and that's all I want to know because I come from a civil law jurisdiction, we can do that to you. Or if you want to get a little bit of both, we're a place that offers it all.
Yeah, excellent. And in terms of your enrollment date, I think you mentioned in the webinar presentation we had earlier that the 1st of June, I think you said, is the enrollment date. So is that the date that they need to come over and start their studies, or is that the date they need to apply for? At what stage they need to start, and how long is that application process?
So the application process is open now. So if you go to the LSAC portal, you can you can go in, look for Tulane for the LLM program, and you will see the application is live. And that application will be live all the way until June 1st. I would say that the very large majority of students, to get both for admission purposes and for the best awards possible, will apply to Tulane between now and March. We do allow you apply to all the way to June. In the past couple of years, that has been a little weird because COVID can give you some delays when it comes to visas, etc. So I would say ideally between now or between November and March to apply is the perfect time. We start classes on that introduction to the US legal system that I told you about, that it's the mandatory course for LLM students with a foreign law degree at the end of July.
Okay.
So and then the semester itself starts towards the end of August. So you have a month of intro to the US legal system, and then you start classes towards the end of August, and you end classes on the 3rd week of May. So it's a little bit, the South does something also unique about the South. The South does the classes a little on the earlier side. A lot of people, you will note that a lot of people on the Northeast and even California will start classes towards September. We start a little earlier, we end a little earlier.
And it's important to touch upon that as well, because a lot of, like you said, a lot of the northern cities in the United States, they tend to start a little bit late, but what that does allow them to do is the pre-LLM kind of courses that they take to kind of make them feel welcomed, and a little bit a booster course. It does allow them to do it over that summer period, August period. Obviously, you do that at the end of July, ready for start of the trimester at the end of August. That's right, isn't it?
Yes. So I can tell you that this year our introduction to the US legal system started on July 25th and ended on August 18, and then classes started on August 22nd, August 22nd, I think, around there. Okay. So yeah, we start a little early.
Excellent. And you know, that does allow for students, actually it works in your favor, I think, somehow, because when students are finished, they want to get home. They want to, when they're finished, they want to shout about it. They want to go and, like you mentioned earlier on, maybe go and party and go and do things that they can't do when you're a student, because it's so intense sometimes and so difficult. So
it's so easy to get. I will tell you, our students, when they're in New Orleans for the year, we, as any other school, we have fall break, winter break, spring break. And our students, I've had students do the entire United States. I have students like, I spend the year in Mexico. We're close to everything. We have a lot of cruises. A lot of students do cruises during the fall and spring break. There's a lot of cruises coming out of New Orleans going to Mexico, for example.
Excellent. And I just want to finish on scholarships and funding. You mentioned in the webinar earlier about minimum 30%, I think you said, discount the scholarships and funding. How does a student go about applying for that? Do they just apply as normal and then you guys apply for the appropriate scholarships? What do they do?
So it's merit based, so you don't have to do anything besides submitting a complete, and I would add, well thought application, because we will look at everything that you submitted, from the personal statement to your transcripts, from the letters of recommendation, your English proficiency score, your resume. And based on that as a bulk, and I know this is a very cliche thing, but we have a very holistic approach to it. So we look at everything that you submitted and we decide, you know what, you didn't work a single year so far, but you had wonderful grades and you were extremely involved in student activities while in school, or you weren't great in school, but you've proven everyone that has worked with you for the past 2 years and written a letter of recommendation has nothing but absolutely wonderful things to say about you. So we try to look at everything as a whole and not just like, oh my God, this person had somehow average grades, let's just pull it aside. No, we look at everything that you submit. 100%.
Excellent.
I think
And finally, how does a student apply? What do they do? Where do they need to go? Do they head over to your website? Do they go to your social pages? What's
so
next?
there's two ways to apply. You can apply via LSAC, and if you're applying to a lot of LLM student, a lot of LLM programs, you do have you probably have heard about LSAC. So if you look for the LLM application for Tulane under LSAC, you'll find ours for sure. And then you can also apply directly to us. And if that's what you want to do, all you have to do is you either go to our website, and on the LLM page of our Tulane website, you'll be directed, and there's a link there that says apply here, or you can email me and I will be more than happy to share the application. I think you have a couple of questions here.
Yeah, so a couple of questions have come in surrounding the LSAT that you just mentioned, really, about do they have to produce their score and
No,
so on from
you
there.
don't. So you apply via LSAC, but you do not have to submit an LSAT score. No, the LSAT scores are not required for the LLM. You have to be a graduate school of any US or Canadian law school. No, you can be an LLM, you can have an LLB or a JD equivalent from any school around the world to apply for an LLM. The only requirement is that you have a first law degree. And that's, generally speaking, it's an LLB or a JD equivalent.
Excellent.
What is the relation of this law school to Canada? We don't have one.
Yes.
We have a few Canadians studying here. Very tough.
Can students study online? Is that an option? You know, just elaborating further on that point. Is that obviously in this way these days of blended learning and COVID-19 pandemic, is that still an option?
It's not. We offered online courses during a couple of semesters because of COVID, but we are a non-campus program.
And one final question that's come in, and then we'll have to wrap things up, is your LLM a qualifying degree for being summoned to legal practice?
So the LLM, if you have a first law degree and then you combine that with an LLM in the United States and you meet a few requirements, a few jurisdictions around the United States will allow you to sit for their bar exam. So in the United States, nothing is automatic, and each state has a different way of doing it. The majority of our students will do the bar exam in New York or California or here in Louisiana. And for those you do have, or for the majority of those, you are required to have an LLM, but then you have to meet a number of other requirements.
Excellent. Thanks for your time, Maria. It's been really insightful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For all of you that are listening and watching today, that was Maria Landry from Tulane Law School. If you've got any questions or any concerns during this presentation, there was, if you're watching live, there was a screen with all her details on, but we will share those details later in an email. But for now, thank you, Maria, and we look forward to seeing you soon. If you'd like to turn your camera off, we're just going to proceed with a bit of information about LLM study and what we've got to offer. So postgrad.com is the #1 website for postgraduate courses in the world. Choice of over 200 countries for you to study at. Partnership with high scholarship international providers such as the Chevening in the UK and the Marshall scholarships in the USA. The best advice on career support, visas, so much more. And LLM study is dedicated purely towards LLMs. You've been watching Tulane Law School today, but we have many different sessions throughout the year, including from Suffolk Law, Tulane, Temple, St. John's Uni, Minnesota, and many, many more. So you will have a wide variety. Anybody watching will be eligible for a £500 bursary, which we hand out 2 to 3 every single year, every 12 months. So please do head over to our website and apply for that. Anyone from anywhere around the world is welcome to apply for January, June enrollment dates or September. So please head over and apply. But for now, a huge thank you. You can see there a list of the law schools that we're working with this year, helping bring you the best advice and everything there is to need to know about LLMs in the USA. But for now, a huge thank you. And we look forward to seeing you for our next session, which is next week with Suffolk Law School. It's sure to be a good one. Speak soon. Take care. Bye-bye.